Speedbird 1552 cleared to Philadelphia as filed. Climb maintain 9000, expect flight level 1010 minutes after departure. Departure was with you 11901 and squawk 3212.
Speedbird 1552, read back as correct. Clear for push and start, tail to the left, expect runway 01.
Expect 01 and not to the left. Speedbird 1552.
November Charlie 25, welcome to Dulles, vacate left when able.
Left when able, thanks.
So I was looking at all the fixes around San Francisco yesterday, and I noticed a lot of them are related to the Grateful Dead. It's pretty cool.
Tower number Charlie 25, runway 01, right clear, request taxi to gates or general aviation. That's really not important as that, and we are on Kilo 4.
November Charlie 25, taxi gate 2 via Kilo 4, Juliet 4, Juliet Echo.
Taxi to gate 2 via Kilo 4 Charlie Echo, November Charlie 25.
Correction, taxi gate 2 via Kilo 4, Juliet 4, Juliet Echo.
Taxi to gate 2 via Kilo 4 Charlie Echo, November Charlie 25.
Let me try that again. Taxi gate 2 via Kilo 4, Juliet 4, Juliet Charlie. Correction. You got me now. Kilo 4, Juliet 4, Juliet Echo.
Alright, sorry about that. I just had a math exam today. Taxi to gate 2 via taxiway Kilo 4 Juliet 4 Juliet Echo, November Charlie 25.
You back correct.
Roger that, thanks.
Reagan ground, Speedbird 1552 requesting taxi to runway 1.
Speedbird 1552, taxi runway 1 via Kilo, Golf, Juliet, cross 04, Charlie.
Roger, taxi runway 1 via Kilo, Golf, Juliet, cross 04, and Charlie.
Feedback
Speedbird
correct.
1552.
Tower, can you confirm that November Charlie 25 is approaching to right gate?
Yeah, that's gate 4, but it's fine. You're cool.
I don't care because there is no signs of gate numbers, are they?
Oh, really?
Alright, thanks for your and request shut down everything and get the hell out.
Sounds good. Call me if you want to come back.
November Charlie 25 is at gate 4 and requesting to shut down all engines, all batteries and everything and just go out of the airplane, go to home.
That's approved.
Roger that, thanks and have a nice day.
Peace.
Rigging ground, this is Bird 1552. I heard with other aircraft you asked them to turn after departure. I want to get us ready as soon as possible. Do we need to turn after departure?
Yeah, 320.
320. Okay.
Tower, this is number Charlie 25. Thank you for all of your helpings and see you later.
Thank you. Peace, dude. See you later.
Bye everyone.
Requesting pushback clearance.
Tango Hotel 11 Tango. Do you have a flight plan filed?
No.
Where are you flying to today?
Circle around.
Okay. Advise ready to copy VFR clearance. Speedbird 1552, runway 01, line up and wait.
Line up and wait, runway 1, Bird 1552.
Tango Hotel 11 Tango, advise ready to copy VFR clearance.
Roger.
Tango Hotel 11 Tango, you are cleared into the Washington Class Bravo out of below 6,000. Expect traffic runway 01, squawk 1200. Speedbird 1552, winds are 31210. Immediately after departure, turn left 320, runway 01, clear for takeoff.
Runway 01 clear for takeoff, Speedbird 1552 and left turn 320 directly after departure.
Whoa! And Speedbird 1552, proceed direct DuPont, climb maintain 11,000.
Direct to the VOR and climb maintain 11,000, Speedbird 1552.
So yeah, that river is kind of scary. You have to stay west of it, you know?
Roger that.
1552, you are now cleared of the Washington class Bravo. Resume navigation. Have good flights. Yeah.
Speedbird 1552, resume navigation. Thanks for the service.
Surprise! It's an Amansul podcast mini-sode.
Boy, what a morning.
I'm your host, Father Andrew Stephen Damick, and you're listening to the Amansul podcast, in which we talk about the life and writing of author J.R.R. Tolkien from an Orthodox Christian perspective. Although our normal full episodes are released once a month on the 25th, once in a while I have some content I'd like to put together for you that will be simpler and briefer. And since any fan of Tolkien has to love appendices, think of these episodes as the Amansul equivalent. So welcome to our first mini-sode. First up, let's look at some comments that I've received. This one came in the email. This is from Richard in San Diego, and he had a couple of things, corrections really, that he wanted to offer after listening to our very first episode. First, he said this: Iluvatar did not sing in the Ainulindale. He brought forth the Ainur from his thought and taught to them the themes to play, but the world did come into being when he uttered the word Ea, which is profoundly biblical, and I agree with you that the Ainulindale is a beautiful cosmogonic myth. Okay, so what Richard is referring to there is I actually made a mistake in our first episode where I said that Iluvatar sang the Ainur into being and sang everything into being. And what I did is I actually sort of conflated together several things from the Ainulindale, which is the creation story that's in the Silmarillion. So if you think of the Silmarillion as being sort of like the Old Testament of Tolkien's world, then the Ainulindale is sort of like Genesis in some sense. Ainulindale is, as Richard says,
beginning our descent.
First, Iluvatar, who is the one God, the one true God, the monotheistic God of Tolkien's world, he creates the Ainur, or sort of like angelic beings, from his thought. It doesn't really say much beyond that. It says that he creates them from his thought. It begins this way. It says, there was Eru, the one, who in Arda is called Iluvatar, and he made first the Ainur, the holy ones, that were the offspring of his thought, and they were with him before aught else was made. And I'm reading here from the Silmarillion. And it says, and he spoke to them, propounding to them
great timing.
music, and they sang before him, and he was glad. Okay, so what happens is that Iluvatar makes the Ainur from his thought, and then he sings to them, and then eventually he has them sing to him, and they sing together, and all of these things come together to be this great music, right, which we talked about that in the first episode, and I'm hoping that eventually we'll have a whole episode where we talk about just this
flight level 205
and eventually what happens is, after the music is done, then Iluvatar gives
reduced speed to
what was in the music
300
by saying the word
knots.
Ea, which means essentially let it be.
Heading
So Richard is
315.
right. He's correcting this error that I made in our first episode about sort of the order things happen in and exactly how they happen. So Iluvatar makes the Ainur of his thought, and then he sings to them. They sing back to him, sing with each other. He sings some more, and then eventually the song is used, this great theme is used as a kind of template for the creation of the world when Iluvatar says Ea. And then a lot of things are found, of course, in the world that were essentially described in the music. We don't know exactly how that is the case, but it's described in the music. And then, of course, there are some things that are encountered in the world, in the creation, that didn't seem to have any place in the music. So there are little surprises, even for the Ainur, or these angelic beings. So thank you very much, Richard, for that correction. And then Richard also wrote this other comment when Steve and I talked about the pity that is shown to Gollum in The Lord of the Rings. First in The Hobbit, and then in Lord of the Rings, and we said that was the hand of Iluvatar acting through Bilbo, acting through Frodo, acting through Sam even, And Richard had this to say. He said, "I'm not sure about Iru, which is the other name for Iluvatar. I'm not sure about Iru being the cause and source of Bilbo's, Frodo's, and Sam's mercy to Gollum. I may be lacking in understanding, but it seems that response resided within their freedom, and that by choosing mercy, they made possible the destruction of the ring." Okay, so I would say it's really a question of interpretation. I looked to see if I could find anywhere that Tolkien had made a comment about this, and I couldn't find something. Maybe listeners, you know of something that Tolkien said where he gives an interpretation of this question. Is it just purely within the free will of these hobbits to show mercy to Gollum, or is it something that Iluvatar is doing? I would say this, especially being an Orthodox Christian, I would say it's both, right? It's both. And I don't think Steve and I were suggesting that Iluvatar kind of, deterministically made the hobbits show pity to Gollum, right? They were still acting in their freedom. But these are kind of really key moments in the history of the Ring and the history of Middle-earth, and it's really important that it turns out that way. And so you have to imagine, and certainly I did and Steve did, that Iluvatar is present and he's working and he's helping the hobbits to make the right choice.
November 2486 Sierra, request pushback and taxi deactive.
Oh, that's
Number
a new one.
2486 Reagan Ground. Are you going to be a part of that?
Yeah, lots of flights.
Will, right? As if, of course, any goodness that anyone in
Slow for Reagan,
this
but
world has isn't somehow related to Iluvatar.
Sorry,
slow
audio
for-
problem with your fleet.
And of course, remember that
Oh,
passage
November
Oh, morning.
2486 Reagan clearance delivery. Are you doing VFR today?
Affirmative, I'll be VFR.
Okay, advise ready to copy VFR plan.
Turns out to have its ultimate source.
Ready,
in
copy.
Iluvatar, and that,
Number 24860, you are cleared into the Washington class travel out of below 4,000.
So ultimately, Iluvatar is kind of
If you're in the
weaving all
traffic,
these things
back left
together
traffic,
and
runway
for his own
01, squawk
purposes. So yes, I
1206.
agree with you, Richard, that it resides within the freedom of these hobbits to show pity to Gollum, but at the same time, I would also say that Iluvatar is present and working and probably was doing a lot to prepare them to
Copy
prepare
that.
their character for those moments.
Maintain at or below
So I would say
4,000
it's
feet,
both.
left-hand
It's
traffic,
synergistic, really.
runway 01,
That's
squawk
certainly how I would interpret it
1206.
in my own reading, especially as an Orthodox Christian.
24860,
Yeah, I believe
read
in
back as
synergy
correct,
where
clear for
God
push
and
to
man
start,
work
tail
together
to
for the
the right.
purposes that God has set out.
Call that.
But that God does not overwhelm the will
Affirmative,
of man
pushback, tail
when it
to
comes
the right.
to man's salvation, right? So, but thank you very much for those comments, Richard. I really appreciate it. Those are really some good observations. And, other listeners, if you have any corrections you would like to offer, just as Richard offered corrections, we would be happy to receive them. And I definitely read all the email that I get. And, perhaps, if you send something to me and it works within an episode, it'll make it on the air. So if you'd like to send any messages, any comments, questions, you can send them to me at amansul@ancientfaith.com, or you can message me via our Amansul podcast Facebook page. So, and maybe yours will come on to a future episode. So I wanted to dedicate the bulk of this episode today to the name of this podcast, actually, Amansul, right? What is it? What is Amansul exactly? Well, it means, of course, that only people who are real Tolkien fans are likely to sort of
Reagan Ground, November 2486 Sierra, request
if you've read Lord of the Rings,
taxi to the
then
active.
you probably know
November
the place,
2486.
although it's not commonly called that, and I'll mention that in
November
just a second.
2486
So what is
taxi
Amansul? Well, if
01
you've only seen the movies,
Bravo,
then the movies by
Alpha,
Peter Jackson, that is,
04,
then there's just
Juliet,
one line.
Charlie.
November 2486 Sierra, taxi via Bravo Alpha, cross runway 04 to Juliet and Charlie.
Number 2486, yeah, read back correct. Speedbird 1552, caution traffic, 12 o'clock, 16 miles, 4,500 climbing, type A320.
Roger, we'll report traffic inside Speedbird 1552.
And Speedbird 1407, caution traffic, 1 o'clock, 12 miles, 7,800 descending.
Affirm will report one insight.
Since we don't have Washington Center open, I gotta do it for you.
Speedbird 1407, I've got a visual on the red tag at least. I can't actually see the plane though.
Okay, I show him bearing, heading 030, 6,500, descending 1,700 feet per minute. Traffic should be no factor at this point.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be an issue. I'm ascending through 9,000 at the moment, so.
Speedbird 1552, we've got the traffic in sight about 9 miles to our 2 o'clock.
Great, 1552, traffic no factor.
Roger that. Washington Center, Speedbird 1552 is going to make straight an approach, runway 09 right for the ILS.
Speedbird 1552, winds at Philly are 31310, altimeter 2950.
Roger, 2950 for the altimeter, thanks.
Oop, 2486 Sierra, pull a U-turn if possible.
Tower did not read. Were you speaking to 86 Sierra?
Yeah, 86 Sierra, make next right on Charlie, cross 04, hold short 01.
Affirmative.
And Speedbird 1552, Washington Center, report established, runway 09 right.
Roger, we will report completely established 09 right, Speedbird 1552.
Ronald Reagan ground, Navy 408.
Navy 408, Reagan ground.
Request clearance is filed IFR. At your convenience.
Yeah, clearance on request number 1, standby. Navy 408, advise, ready to copy.
Copy. Ready to copy.
Navy 408, you are cleared to Key West Naval Air Station via Shaw, Venice filed. I maintain 9,000, expect 15,000, 10 minutes after departure. Departure will be with me today. Squawk 3333.
Alright, Navy 408 is cleared to Key West via Shaw Air Force Base as filed. Initial climb 9,000. Expect 150 flight level 10 minutes after departure. Departure frequencies with you, and I'm squawking quadruple threes. Navy 408.
Navy 408, readback is correct. Clear for push and start tail to the right. Expect runway 01. Call for taxi.
Tail to the right, expecting 01. We'll call for taxi. Pushing back. Navy 408.
November 2486 Sierra, runway 01. Line up and wait.
Line up and wait. Runway 01. 860.
Washington Center, Spirit 1552, fully established runway 09 right at Philip.
Speedbird 1552, Washington Center, winds 312 at 10, runway 09 right, clear to land.
09 right, clear to land, Speedbird 1552.
Number 2486 Sierra, immediately after departure, turn left heading 320, winds are 310 at 10, runway 01, clear for takeoff.
November 2486 Sierra, clear for takeoff. Immediate right turn to 320.
Correction, immediate left turn 320 after departure.
Correction, left turn to 320.
And November 2486 Sierra, resume on navigation, expect left traffic 01, call base to final.
860, we'll call base to final.
Ronald Reagan International Tower. Victor 408, ready for taxi instructions to 01.
Navy 408, Reagan ground, taxi 01 via Kilo, Foxtrot, Juliet, cross 04, Charlie.
Taxi 01 via Kilo, Foxtrot, Juliet, cross 04, Charlie. Hold short. Navy
Feedback
408.
correct.
$2,500. 2,500. 2,500. 2,500.
Navy 408, transiting 04.
Navy 408, thank you.
It seems like you can see the future.
Much lower here than I thought it would be.
But certainly you could see the distance. So it was sort of like a telescope of sorts. But you didn't have to have a line of sight. But also they could be used to communicate. So if someone were standing at one Palantir and then someone were standing in another
Navy
one,
408, runway
then
01,
there
line
could be
up and wait.
conversations back and forth. So this was kind of the instant
Line up and
messenger
wait,
of its
408.
day. you know, there weren't that many of them around, right? So it's not like everybody had a Palantir that they carried around with them. And the Palantir were so sort of valuable and powerful that they were in these fortresses. You know, fans of the Lord of the Rings will probably remember the Palantir that is in Orthanc, right? That Saruman uses.
Maybe 48, immediately after departure, left turn 320, winds at 312 with 10, runway 01, clear for takeoff.
They use those to see things coming from afar.
Immediate left
An
turn
interesting
off
note
the
about
runway
the Palantir
320.
Gondor that Denethor uses, now this is obviously way in the future compared to Elendil, is
Well,
that
we'll get there, don't worry.
He sees something that's
Clear
true,
for
right? He
takeoff.
sees the black ships coming up the river, but of course he doesn't see everything that there is to see, which is that at that point that they're not being sailed by the enemy, but actually being sailed by Aragorn and Gimli and Legolas and his army of sort of the undead, so to speak, you know, the Oathbreakers, right? So just because you have a Palantir doesn't mean it's going to show you the whole truth, right?
Washington approach, November 2486 Sierra. I apologize, I will be stepping out for about 5 minutes.
It was used for
Okay,
communication.
contact him way back in. You're clear, I'll call you.
And all that kind of thing. It was really important militarily.
Autopilot
right?
said
So
I'm going to be holding 2000 stable
eventually what
course
happens is
at
that,
271.
You know, Sauron has the One Ring made, and he's threatening all of Middle
Did
Earth.
the game just rewind me and throw me into the ground?
Elves and men decide to form into this alliance. Okay. Now, if you've watched the Lord of the Rings movies, this is all depicted in a kind of prologue at the very, very beginning, and it's talked about in various places in the books. And so Elendil, the king of men, the High King of men, really, you know, his sons are still kind of subservient to him, right? Even though they have their own kingdom. He decides to make this. You know, he and Gil-galad, who is an elven king living in the west, they make this alliance. And so, as we heard Strider say, it is said that Elendil stood up there on Amansul waiting for Gil-galad coming out of the west. So Amansul is actually the place where the last alliance, as it's called, is really formed. So Gil-galad meets him there, and they form this last alliance, and then they march their way down to Mordor, down to a place called the Pelennor Fields.
Maybe before they do that Shaw climbing to 15,000.
The Pelennor Fields.
Climbing to 50,000 was in the direct Shaw, and they do so much power.
And then his son Isildur cuts the ring from Sauron's hand.
Hi, Washington.
And takes the ring for himself. So Amansul actually fits into pretty significantly into this history that is the main action of what's in the Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
right?
copy.
So it's really an
if you
important
go
place.
to 8, you'll end up just west
a few
of White House,
generations later, I can't remember exactly how many now.
So you gotta make that
Witch
turn
King
left, and maybe
Angmar,
after
who is
parts. You gotta
actually
stay
the
west of the
chief
Jones River.
of the Nazgul. Okay, so the ring wraiths. He's the head one. He leads an assault on Amansul and tears it down.
Maybe before they
So this is the
traffic,
point where it
1
becomes a
o'clock,
war,
6 miles, tight
Now he's
mall,
not able to get the
line,
Palantir.
2,800
He doesn't get
no
it,
traffic.
which is good. But what happens
Copy
to that Palantir?
that.
Okay,
2 nautical
so
miles off my 3
that
o'clock
Palantir,
now.
as I said, it was placed there on Amansul by Elendil, and you know,
looks like
the
a
Witch
Mooney
King
Bravo to
doesn't
me.
succeed in getting it.
Yeah, that might be it.
And but it kind of passes down generations, and eventually what happens is the last king of that area, a man named I'm going to mispronounce this, I'm sure, Arvedui. He saves this Palantir as well as another one that belongs to the North Kingdom, and he goes into the far north, and eventually he goes to a ship that's at the Grey Havens, which is that harbor that's on the western part of northwestern part of Middle Earth.
But I can't download pictures from Google
Images
Images anymore.
And
Why? What do you mean?
unfortunately, the
They
hull of the
disabled the
ship
download image
gets
button
crushed
in
by
Google.
ice, and
So you have to
everybody
right click
dies,
on it?
including him.
Nope, not anymore.
And
Well, you can, but it's
so
going to give you
these
the
two
thumbnail,
Palantir
not
that he
the actual
has, they're
one.
on board the ship.
Oh, that's
They're basically lost in the shipwreck, and they sink. So as far as anyone knows, the Palantir that lived at Amansul is now at the bottom of the ocean somewhere, and never to be seen.
Ebird 1407, welcome to the Washington South Bravo. Contact me at Mitch,
Palantir really useful
3000.
things. The next time, if I recall correctly,
Contact
that
Mitch
that
3000
shows up
will do.
is when it shows up in
Yeah,
Lord of the Rings. Okay. So, like I said, our first approach to Amansul is where Strider and Hobbit see that distance, but where you don't quite see sort of on screen, so to speak, in the book, and then even in the movie too, at that moment, is that before they ever get there, Gandalf gets there, of course. So we see that in the book. We see that they see signs that Gandalf was there, right? And they see signs, that the stones are blackened and that there was something that had happened there. Well, what happened there is that Gandalf actually fought with some of the Nazgul. Okay, so there's a battle up there in the midst of the ruin on top of Amansul. And then not too far, later than just a few days later, Aragorn and the hobbits get there, and they also have a battle with the Nazgul, and they're able to successfully drive them off, but not before Frodo gets stabbed by the Witch King of Angmar. So it's the same Nazgul that so before had actually torn down the Tower of Amansul and was trying to get the Palantir. The same one is the one who's there and stabs Frodo. All right, I wanted to say something a little bit about the difference between the movie and the book at this point. And again, I'm talking about the Peter Jackson movie. If you watch the Peter Jackson movie, then there's a point where some of the hobbits start a fire and they start cooking bacon and sausage, and then Frodo says, put it out, right? He says, put out the fire, you fools, And then the next thing you hear the screeching of the Nazgul, right? So from the movie, you get the idea that their presence at Amansul is revealed by the fact that they lit this fire. Well, I kind of get why they did that, because it's a visual way to sort of describe how it is that the Nazgul are attracted to the place.
Maybe for you are clear of the walking past battle, you can change the proof have this way.
And saying, that's how they figured out that they were on Amansul, would seem a little weird, I think. In the book, it's just sort of clear that the Nazgul are just sort of drawn.
Washington approach, November
I just wanted to say something about this fire. Well, Aragorn actually tells them to build a fire. Even after they actually see the Nazgul from a distance, he tells them to build a fire, and they hang out there for a while. There's a significant amount of time that passes between when they see the Nazgul from afar on the road and when they actually encounter them on Weathertop. It's not this immediate thing. And Aragorn has them build a fire, and they actually eat while they're there. So,
just 3,000.
It's not like cooking is
this wind is super fun.
Okay, I just didn't know if you would how long it would take you, but my bad.
Right, and of course it's depicted very nicely in the movie where you see, Aragorn, swinging around
2,500.
a brand at the Nazgul to drive them off. Right? So there's a little bit of difference there between the book and the movie. I get why they made the movie the way they did, why they put that in there. But, nonetheless, that's not how it happens in the book. So, and I consider the book to be sort of primary. So, anyways, that's just kind of a roundup on what Amansul is, and where it places in the history of Middle Earth.
Ouch.
So let's talk a little bit about what Amansul means, at least what it means for me, and maybe you'll find some of the same meaning. So the first subject I wanted to kind of mention in regards to that is this Palantir that's
November 2486 Sierra.
It's a stone of sea,
I gotta walk away again.
So you can see distances.
You're in a good position there.
But even after the tower has been destroyed and various major characters stand up there, there's also a significant view that they have from up there on top of the hill. And if I'm thinking about Amansul as a kind of emblem of spiritual life, I think it's important for us to climb up on top of hills, so to speak, and sometimes maybe even literally, right? There's something about climbing a hill or climbing a mountain and just sort of standing up there that can help to recenter us spiritually, I think, And of course, there are mountains and hills that figure into Scripture itself. Think about the Transfiguration. The Lord Jesus brings Peter, James, and John
1,000
up on Mount Tabor, and he's transfigured before them, and they're able to see his glory. So this place of seeing up on top of this hill, and St. Peter later in one of his epistles refers to this as a holy mountain, right? But also there are other kind of places of seeing. Moses, for instance, goes up on Mount
This
Sinai.
looks sketch the way I'm heading for those trees.
So I think that
I don't like it.
experiences
I don't like it.
really important in spiritual life.
We could avoid this.
500.
And make some examination of ourselves and of our
400.
Speedbird
Right? So you may not
1407, turn
literally
left
be going up
200.
on top of a mountain,
300.
but you might
Turn left
have a
200,
mountaintop
speedbird
experience of
1407.
sorts, which might be
And
found, for
Speedbird
instance, in
1407,
confession.
expect ILM
Right?
200.
101.
You can do that. It's important to take time and
Expect
to
runway
see,
01
right, to
ILS,
see what there is to
1407.
see,
100.
Can I get the frequency
and
for
to
that,
really
please?
have a look around.
Yeah,
50,
01
If you just
40,
ILS,
always
30,
through the
1
old
0
forest or the mission,
9
20,
decimal
20,
niner
Midwater
10,
marshes
0
or
10,
whatever
10.
course
of your spiritual life,
007.
you can kind of lose track of where it is you're going and lose track of who it is you are. So
109.90
for me, that's part of what
and
Soul kind of suggests.
course.
Another
What was
thing
that? Can I get a
is
repeat on
really
the course,
important about the
please?
place, I believe,
Yep,
is this
0
question of
0
memory.
7.
So, the
0
author
07
introduced
course,
to
thank
it
you.
in the book. After there's an initial sort of spotting it, Aragorn, as they're coming up upon it, he actually says
Washington
something a
approach,
little bit about
November
its history. So there's
24860
this
with you.
introduction of the notion of memory already.
2860
Right?
Washington approach, thank you very much.
And when we have places that we go to where we have significant spiritual experiences, or even just sort of everyday spiritual experiences, okay, this question of memory is so important. We have to remember where it is we've been. We have to remember what it is we've done in that place, right? So like if you go, for instance, to the same church your whole life, which a lot of Orthodox Christians do, then in that same place, maybe you were baptized, maybe your children were baptized, maybe you were married. There is the place where you give your confession. There is a place where you are given holy unction for your healing. There is a place where you receive the body and blood of Christ. There is a place where you pray. There is a place where you weep. There is a place where you have celebration. All of those things are all about memory. And even though we're not at every single moment experiencing all those things, the memory of that shapes us, right? And so the memory of Amansul shapes the experience that the hobbits have up there. And of course it shapes the whole history of Middle-earth. It's a really important place in Middle-earth. It's not a big mountain. It's not a great palace. It's not, anything much, actually, when they come upon it in the Fellowship of the Ring. But it really is an important piece of Middle-earth history. And the fact that so much has happened there charges the place with a spiritual significance, right? Okay, so memory, really. But connected with that, I think that we should recall that all things in this world fade.
240.
Even things that are mighty, right? So this was a great fortress, at one point, a great tower, right? That had a palantir in it. And when we encounter it in Fellowship of the Ring, there's not much left, okay? All things in this earthly life fade. All things do. Even things built by great kings, and even our own big spiritual experiences that we might have. All those things fade in one way or another because we are mortal, because this world is passing away, right? Because in this world we have no continuing city, to use some scriptural language. That's all true, okay? Now, that doesn't mean that the significance of these places and the significance of these things is not eternal. It is eternal inasmuch as we orient ourselves towards the resurrection, inasmuch as we orient our experiences towards the resurrection. But all things fade, okay? Another thing I wanted to kind of mention here is that history often kind of rhymes, right? You probably heard that old saying, those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Okay, but it's the case that history tends to rhyme, that similar kinds of things happen over and over, whether it's just in our own lives or, with different people across different events in different centuries, different times. But this happens, of course, on Amansul, right? It's used more than once as a place of seeing, okay? Which makes sense, because that's kind of the place it is. But it's also a place of struggle, a place of difficulty, a place to have a spiritual battle. And that happens more than once in its history. I mentioned at least 3 different battles that occurred up there on Amansul. So if, for instance, if we were to think of Amansul as a kind of church experience of sorts, right? I've already compared it to that. Church is a place where you do spiritual battle. You come to church to repent of your sins.
Current winds on the field.
Okay,
3, 1, 2 at 10. Alpha, 2950.
Glorious. It's difficult too. So, there is this repetition that occurs, and I think repetition is really an important part of the Christian spiritual life. And we shouldn't be afraid of it. It's not monotonous, right? And ultimately it's meaningful. And sometimes repetition is of difficult things, but sometimes repetition is also of joy. And all those things go together. So there's just a few reflections on the way that I understand Amun Sul and the kinds of meaning that I derive from it when I think about it. So when Stephen Christoforo and I first had the idea to record episode 1 together, it actually started with the idea to see a limited time Tolkien exhibit that is currently at the Morgan Library and Museum in New York City. That was what we were going to do. And the idea to record after came out of that. Well, on the day that I was supposed to go to New York to see the exhibit with Steve, we had awful wintry weather in eastern Pennsylvania where I live. Now, it was not quite Caradhras preventing hobbits from going over the Misty Mountains level snow, but it was enough to make me not want to drive across New Jersey. Anyway, Steve and I went ahead and recorded together remotely with the help of some technology, but we still wanted to see the exhibit, which includes many of Tolkien's drawings, paintings, and maps and other stuff. So we took a rain check. A snow check. Anyway, I finally did make it to New York to hang out with Steve and see the exhibit. And I also brought along someone you might not expect. Well, I'm at the Morgan Library and Museum in downtown Manhattan. That's where we are, right?
That's right.
With,
it's
Midtown?
Lower Midtown-ish.
I'm not a New Yorker. Yeah. And I'm here with Stephen Christoforo, and we just saw the Tolkien exhibit at the Morgan Library, and we just wanted to share some of our immediate impressions. I mean, we literally just walked out of the door from the exhibit, so
we are in a little sitting area in the basement right now.
Yeah, exactly. So, Steve, I mean, what were your main sort of immediate takeaways?
For me, I think it was so incredible.